Neal, as I was asking the question, the control room informed me that we just learned that Monday morning, Judge Merchan will have the ruling on all of what Vaughn and Sue are talking about. But this dynamic, and again, we often cover it in a political context about credibility, particularly of Michael Cohen, is usually in reaction to a smear from Donald Trump. In this case, in front of a jury, Michael Cohen is a fact witness, but there are a whole bunch of other things that we know that Alvin Bragg did to corroborate those facts. And it seems reasonable when credibility attacks are a known tool, a legal one of Donald Trump's, that all of these other rulings and judgments would be part of the evidence before a jury.
That's exactly right, Nicole. I'm not in the courtroom, unlike Susanne, and I have a good reason. I've been playing the new Taylor Swift record nonstop, and I think my neighbor's like going to take out a restraining order against me. Look, I think so. This process that we're going through right now, that the judge is going to rule on Monday, is what's known as a Sandoval hearing, and it comes from a New York High Court decision back in 1974, which is an unusual one. Other states don't do this, but basically New York says prosecutors have to explain in detail to the judge what evidence they'd like to put before the jury, and the defendant, after the judge rules on what will be the ground rules and what's going to come in and what isn't, can decide whether or not to testify. And that's been an issue, for example, in the Harvey Weinstein case. The prosecutors there said they'd introduce all sorts of testimony about Weinstein. The judge said, I would allow that. And that led Weinstein not to testify in his defense at trial. And it's become, and something Susanne foreshadowed a moment ago, an appeal issue in the Weinstein case. So too here. So I'm really glad to see the judge taking his time to think through these issues for Monday. The prosecutors, I think, according to the news transcripts, have offered three rationales for introducing this evidence. One is repeated fraud and illegality by the defendant, Donald Trump. That's a tough argument because, you know, the fact that you committed one crime doesn't necessarily mean you have propensity to commit another. The second, the one you were seizing on, I think is the strongest, about credibility. And in particular, the prosecutor, Matthew Colangelo, today talked about wanting to introduce evidence in the gag order proceedings in New York, because there the judge summoned Trump to the stand and found afterwards that he had lied to the court and said his testimony rang hollow and untrue. That kind of credibility determination made by another judge is something that's really central. And as you say, look, credibility is always important for Michael Cohen or any fact witness and the like, but it's incredibly important for someone like Trump. If he decides to take the stand, the prosecutors, it's totally fair game for them to say, hey, you know, why should we believe you this time? So I think that's where it'll go. The third rationale, not offered directly, but I do think is going on in the New York AG's mind, and Matthew Colangelo comes from that office, is that they just want to remind the judge that this is a guy who'd already violated a gag order in another case and faced severe sanctions. And that takes on additional salience because Donald Trump has been repeatedly and grotesquely violating the gag order this week, and that'll be the subject of a hearing on Tuesday in this case.
Neal, does he or doesn't he take the stand?
Oh, I suspect the answer to that, and obviously we'll have to wait and see, is Donald Trump will claim he wants to take the stand, may even say to his lawyers he wants to take the stand. But in the end, the guy's a chicken. And no, I don't think he's taking the stand. And even if he's not a chicken, we know that he is someone who is incapable of telling the truth. And he has some good lawyers in this trial. And I don't think those good lawyers are going to let him stand up and perjure himself and get himself into even more hot water. So I suspect at the end of the day, he will not take the stand. And he'll blame it, of course, on, oh, the case is so weak against me. We've heard that, because he'll only make the determination of whether to take the stand after the prosecution has provided all of their testimony. So he'll just say, I'm not going to bother. I was planning on doing it, but now I won't. Facts will see.
Well, I was going to say one thing that we got a little bit of a preview of today, it was really fascinating, was that once the jurors are in the box and they've answered their questionnaire, each side has 30 minutes to ask questions of the jurors, and they kind of hand the mic around and they ask questions. And one of the questions, they had a different spin on each side. The government lawyers asked jurors if they can keep an open mind to someone who has pled guilty in the past, so Michael Cohen. And then they each answered it. They felt they could. And then then Donald Trump's lawyers came up and they said they asked that if somebody has committed perjury and changed their stories multiple times, would you be able to understand that this person is maybe not credible? So they're really already zeroing in on Michael Cohen. And then the other thing that was interesting to me, and I was surprised to hear that Donald Trump's lawyers this early would want to plant this in the mind of now jurors. But Susan Hoffinger asked the jurors if they would have difficulty about the fact Mr. Trump was unfaithful in his marriage. And so far, Donald Trump has not admitted to this relationship with Stormy Daniels, this encounter that he had. So I think there were some surprised people in the room when that happened, but we got a real sense today of where they're going and how they're going to be positioning some things with the jury just through those initial questions that were asked.
Neal, what do you make of that line of questioning?
It's quite remarkable to me because this is in front of the actual jurors. This is not during voir dire for potential jurors, but the actual ones. And for a Trump lawyer to say that is pretty interesting, given the line he's always taken up until this point, which was more Clinton-esque than anything else. It might be that the lawyer was out over her skis and hadn't asked the defendant about whether she could ask that question. That's certainly plausible. Or it might be that at the end of the day, they know that this testimony is coming out in the trial, and they might as well just inoculate themselves and get ahead right now.
Hey everyone, MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.